for the April through June quarter. More details at srnnews.com.
And I'm back for the second hour of Open Up the Doors here on Faith FM, the fusion of heart, mind, and soul, the 11 o'clock hour, where I take your phone calls. Should you decide to call in, I'd love to hear from you. Phone lines are open right now, 631-725-2069, 631-725-2069. And until someone does call in, I'm going to change gears a little bit from the first hour, because I want to share some things. We all know that yesterday, Anthony Fauci, the infamous one, Anthony Fauci, appeared before Congress yesterday, and quite frankly, I can't let this go. I purposely wore this shirt today. You see, for those of you on Facebook in the stream, you see I got a shirt that says, "I told you." I wore this shirt today on purpose because I knew what I wanted to share in this second hour. And Anthony Fauci appeared, as I said a moment ago, appeared under subpoena before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee yesterday, amid accusations that he mishandled public records and lied about the origins of COVID-19 and gain-of-function research. Now, we have known this for years. We have stated this for years, but we've all been called, those of us who knew it, those of us who've been saying it, have been called conspiracy theorists. And, we're just being partisan, and we just don't like Fauci because, he's just a guy that talks like this and thinks he's a big guy, big shot guy kind of guy. But no. Fauci has been exposed. And see, if I was doing this as my main broadcast, I would have titled it, "See, I Told You So." That was a famous line from Rush Limbaugh. He always said that. He wrote a book, "See, I Told You So," stating all the things that he reported, that the media said he didn't know what he was talking about, and he was right. And I just love that. That's why I got my "told you." See, I told you so. See, vindication, how sweet it is. Fauci has been exposed, and his own diary, here's where it gets juicy good. His own diary and record keeping is the rope he hung himself on. I think of the Psalms where David, sometimes the Psalm said, "Let their arrows come back. Let the arrows of the enemy come back and strike them. Let those who dig a ditch to trap other people fall into the ditch themselves." He needs to be in jail. I've said that for years. And despite Fauci's denials through the years, all of the evidence, and like I said, a lot of it's coming right now from his own emails and his own diary. All of the evidence points to the fact that he's responsible for the weaponizing of COVID against the Western world by funding gain-of-function research at the now infamous laboratory in Wuhan, China. Again, we've known that for years. I can't even tell you during the COVID years between 2020 and when the COVID finally kind of peter out around 2003, 2004, maybe 2003. I can't even tell you how many broadcasts I did during those years, reporting to you, to the best of my human ability, the true facts on everything. Because I was listening to the right people, the right sources. I'll get to that in a moment. And if it seems like right now I'm relishing a little bit in some things, I am. Because I was so furious back in those days when YouTube was banning and blocking me, when YouTube was removing my broadcast videos, when I was trying to help people learn the truth and being shut down as giving out disinformation and misinformation. I was livid, I was angry, and I am today about that, but we were right every inch of the way. As the pandemic began sweeping across the Western world, reaping death and destruction, Fauci championed the quick production and the mandatory reception of untested COVID vaccines, which I said from day one, don't take it. And me and my wife didn't take it. She almost lost her job. She could have lost her job. God got us through it. But they were pushing these mandatory vaccines that were bogus, and we knew it. They're not even vaccines. It's the wrong name to use. They resulted, and the proof is there. I said it years ago. We're going to find out in the years. For all those who are calling us conspiracy theorists, and for all those who are accusing us of misinformation, just wait a couple of years. And all of a sudden you're going to see people dropping dead left and right. And by 2002, 2003, 2004, we did. All these mysterious deaths, and the death rate went up mysteriously, as they put it, because of these shots reaping death and destruction. It was Anthony Fauci who championed this whole thing, these vaccines, resulting in the deaths of many, including adolescents who didn't need the shots at all, young athletes who developed myocarditis. So yeah, I'm gonna revisit. We're gonna take a little bit of a walk down history lane, and I'm doing it for a reason. Because as the Republican congressmen yesterday were grilling Fauci for answers, giving him an opportunity to come clean, he refused to cooperate, pleading the fifth 111 times. Now, I figured he wouldn't cooperate because he's a little megalomaniac. Pleaded the fifth 111 times. And yet, and here's the other thing. In spite of all the damning evidence that has come to light through the years, and most like bombshell way, his diary, his reports, his writings, his record keeping, which was released by Rand Paul unredacted, and Fauci didn't even know it was going to be released. My wife asked me the other day, how did they get his diary? And actually, I didn't know myself. How did they get his diary? So I looked into it last night. Oh, man. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the HSH department, was scouring through government service, government records that are HHS records. Fauci kept, I can't believe he did this. Fauci kept his personal diary on the government service. He kept his personal emails. He kept all of this information. All of the megalomaniacal stuff. Oh, I'm really famous now. Oh, I got to talk to Jake Tapper. Oh, I got to talk to Barbara. All this silly stuff that you would write in your own personal diary by hand and keep it in your bedroom drawer in your nightstand. He was putting it on the government service. And they've got the right to look at those and the right to release them. I told you, folks, he's hung himself with his own rope. It's like poetic justice in so many ways. He needs to be thrown in jail. I said that 6 years ago. I said that 4 years ago. He needs to be thrown in jail. He's got blood on his hands. But now we've got literally the smoking gun. Or should I say the smoking diary? But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's even more disgusting. I spoke earlier in the first hour about having moral clarity regarding Israel and the Jews. Well, when your moral compass is broken, it's broken all the way through. And Fauci's, let me put it this way. Hold on one second. I got to check something really quick. Bear with me 1 second. Well, I don't know what's going on with that. But anyway. Sorry about that, folks. Please excuse me. I had to check something really quick. I don't know what's happening here. All right, I'm not going to deal with that now. Anyway, sorry again. where was I? What's really galling me, sorry for the interruption, what's really galling me is the Democrats on this committee yesterday. Because in spite of all the damning evidence that has come to light, and all of the facts that are undeniable, the Democrats on that committee yesterday were still praising and defending Fauci. It's simply mind-blowing. They weren't asking questions. They were pontificating about what a great public servant he is. Folks, on so many levels, it is increasingly evident that the Democrats in D.C. prove every single day they have absolutely no moral clarity left, and their moral compass has been utterly destroyed. They are deranged and depraved reprobates. And God forbid, God help us if they win the midterms. But I digress somewhat. But it was way back in 2020, 6 years ago. You know, it's 6 years ago and it almost feels like it's 60 years ago. But way back in 2020, from the very, very beginning of the COVIDian dystopian nightmare, Fauci was a lying fraud right from the start. And I was continually calling him out on this broadcast, calling him out, and all of the nonsense him and his media sycophants were peddling and spreading through the media. And while they were censoring so many of us who were shouting out the truth as they were blocking and banning and accusing us of spreading disinformation, it was them the whole time spreading misinformation and disinformation. And even worse, blocking and banning medications and proven therapies that worked against the virus, causing thousands of unnecessary deaths. You ought to be angry about that. These people should be in jail. A bunch of them, with Tony Fauci leading the way. But then to make matters worse, not only did they fight against therapies that worked, like hydroxychloroquine and the mixture, the Z-Pak that was proven to work, and ivermectin and other things that were proving to work. Not only were they banning and blocking those things, but they were pushing a bogus vaccine that they knew didn't work and was actually exacerbating the problems. These sons of Belial have blood on their hands. And Fauci, at the very least, should be prosecuted and thrown into prison. And like I said a moment ago, I did multiple broadcasts week after week, bringing you actual facts and stats and medical studies from reputable and credible sources. And I can sit here today, several years later, and tell you every single thing I shared with you on this broadcast and all those broadcasts was right. Everything. And if you want, you can go to my Rumble channel. There's a few of them on YouTube, but not many. That's why I started my Rumble channel, because YouTube was banning and blocking me. But Rumble's free speech channels, that's why I started my Rumble channel several years ago, for this very reason. You can go back to my Rumble channel and go and listen back to all of those broadcasts if you wanted to. YouTube removed many of those broadcasts, as I said, from their channel, from my YouTube channel, but they are all on Rumble. Now, granted, it's water under the bridge at this point, granted. It's all dated information now. But it was cutting edge when I was doing it. And they're on Rumble. And they're there both for posterity and as a witness to my integrity. Integrity in broadcasting. That's kind of why I came up with that little slogan of mine for this broadcast. This is integrity in broadcasting. It was because of really those COVID years. Because I was striving to bring forth real, solid, truthful information and fight against that false narrative. The narrative that was wrong on every single level. Integrity in broadcasting. And those broadcasts are all on Rumble. And I think they're a witness to my integrity, which I've shared many times. I guard quite highly. 3.5 years ago, I did a broadcast called Cardiac Arrest. I did many. where I called for an investigation and for people to be held accountable 3.5 years ago. People like Fauci and so many others needed to be investigated, exposed, and we needed to hold these people accountable. And maybe, just maybe, we're beginning, just maybe, to see it. Because these people have blood on their hands, make no doubt about it. They need to be held responsible. And to be clear, I want to be clear, it's not about seeking revenge or vengeance, not even retribution or retaliation. It's not about those things. But it's about accountability. It's about responsibility. It's about truth and justice. Thousands of people were losing their jobs. Their careers were stolen from them and their lives destroyed because of the lies and the political and social manipulation. Healthcare workers, police, military personnel, soldiers, and even Navy SEALs were all losing their jobs because they chose to maintain their integrity, the integrity of their personal conscience, and not comply with a forced vaccine, which was proven to be ineffective and actually harmful. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, it's probably more like millions, of people died needlessly because of Fauci and our governments, and not only our government, the WHO and the other governments that were under the witchcraft of the UN, the WHO, because of their duplicity and their corruption. And the duplicitous and corrupt media pushing a narrative that was all based on a lie, all based on an agenda. I keep saying it, I'm going to say it again. These people have blood on their hands. And most certainly, Anthony Fauci. The one who the media fawned over. The one who the media turned into a comic book superhero and a celebrity. You can read all about it in his diary. While the real doctors were pilloried, smeared, censored, and blacklisted. When legitimately strong scientific voices like world-renowned Stanford professors like John Ioannidis, Jay Bhattacharya, Scott Atlas, or University of California, San Francisco professors Vinay Prasad and Monica Gandhi. I remember talking about these people. They sounded the alarm on behalf of vulnerable communities, and they faced severe censure by relentless mobs of critics and detractors in the scientific community who had them banned and blacklisted and almost lost their licenses. These were the real experts who knew what they were talking about. But no, they weren't. They weren't promulgating the narrative, and the scientific community came against them, not on the basis of the facts, but solely on the basis of the narrative that they wanted pushed. There was a myriad of credible doctors who were truly the experts that were censored and blacklisted and were telling the truth, trying to expose the lies and the fake science. Follow the science. We're just trying to follow the science, said Fauci. No, his was fake science. It was propaganda. But there were those who were pushing back. Doctors, epidemiologists, and cardiologists like Dr. Peter McCullough, Harvey Risch. I used to quote Harvey Risch a lot. He's an epidemiologist from Harvard. I was always reading his stuff. Robert Malone, who's actually one of the co-inventors of the mRNA vaccine, who himself, after he injected himself and saw what was going on, became an opponent to the very thing he helped create. Scott Atlas, Dr. Ray Bhattacharya I mentioned, Vladimir Zelenko, who was the first one to see the results of the Z-Pack formula that he put together. John Ioannidis from Stanford was one of the first guys I was following. There were so many more I could mention who were sounding the alarm, and they were warning us. And now, years later, my friends, and I knew this would happen. I was waiting for the day it would happen. Years later, we know Dr. Scott Atlas was right. Harvey Risch was right. John Ioannidis was right. Peter McCullough was right. Ray Bhattacharya was right. Knut Witkowski was right. Robert Malone was right. Dr. Joseph Mercola was right. Dr. Marty McCary was right. Every one of these people were pilloried and blacklisted and censored. And every single one of them were right. Then there was the actual experts. I should say these were the actual experts who were pushing against the government and media official narrative. But there are also others in the media who were trying to be truthful too. There were a few voices in the wilderness. People like Daniel Horowitz. Boy, did I get a lot of solid information listening to Daniel Horowitz's podcasts. And Alex Berenson. These were the experts and the credible sources that I was relying on when I did my COVID broadcasts. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a cardiologist. I wasn't having like dreams and revelations at night. I was doing research from credible sources to bring it to you because there was such a dearth of it. My broadcast in April of 2020, Here Comes the Sun. My broadcast in May of 2020, The Greatest Fiasco of All Time, based on the writings of John Ioannidis. When I did a broadcast called the Mask Charade Masquerade, where I had studied for weeks all of the past studies on masks, and they've never been used for respiratory diseases. And these Fauci and these people, wear one mask, wear a good mask, wear two masks, wear three. They knew these masks didn't work in the very beginning. Fauci's on video saying masks don't work. At the very beginning, he said masks don't work for this virus. But then he changed because they wanted to change the narrative, and they wanted to manage the crisis for another agenda, their great reset agenda. Oh, you're a conspiracy theory. No, they were seeking. It was the precursor. It was the preconditioning for controlling the masses. It's blown up in their faces, but this is what they were doing. And in 2021, I went through I went through more than half a dozen different major medical studies when I was doing the research on this. And I did a broadcast, I remember, on natural immunity. When the corrupt media and the government were ignoring natural immunity and lying about the efficacy of masks, as well as the cover-up and hypocrisy of the WHO. The WHO publicly was saying that ivermectin didn't work, but they were using ivermectin in India. Go back and listen to a broadcast I did called Demonic Duplicity. They knew it worked. They practically wiped out COVID in the province of Uttar Pradesh using ivermectin, and they hid it from the public. And we were being told, don't take that horse paste. It's disgusting. It was demonic duplicity. And all these experts that I mentioned a moment ago, they had it right every step of the way. So when I say that I had it right every step of the way, it's not because of me. It's because God gave me the grace and the insight to follow those who actually did know what they were talking about. And now, 6 years later, I can emphatically say, see, I told you so. And that's what integrity in broadcasting is all about. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to play my own tune.